Hello, welcome back to Jade Classes. I am Monideepa, your English educator. I promised you that I'll be very coming very soon with the next part of the story, means part two of the story, how I taught my grandmother to read and see. I'm here. Okay, so today we are going to complete. Means in this video we are going to complete the story. So let's start. So we completed up to this much. In my previous video, we completed up to the part that the narrator went to attend a wedding in a neighboring village, and when she came back, she found her grandmother in tears. She asked her grandmother that what had happened, but her grandmother did not say anything. Okay, and the narrator, as she was just a girl of 12, so she also could not understand anything, the reason behind the tears. Okay, and very soon she also forgot about everything. Okay, now the next part. Now, next, what happened? In the night after their dinner, so they went to sleep in the open terrace of their house. It was summer night and the full moon was there in the sky. Avva, that is her grandmother, came and sat next to the narrator. Her affectionate hands touched the forehead of the narrator, and the narrator realized that the grandmother wants to speak with her, means wants to say her something. So the narrator asked her grandmother that what is the matter? What happened? Okay, is there anything that you want to say me? But the grandmother started, or she began to tell the story of her own life. What did the grandmother say? She said that when I was a young girl, means when the grandmother was a young girl, she lost her mother. There was nobody to look after her or to guide her. Her father, means the grandmother's father, was a busy man and he got married again. Now, in those days, means during the time of grandmother, um, never means during the time of grandmother, education was not considered essential for girls. Okay, so education was not considered essential for girls, and so the grandmother never went to school. After that, what happened? So she got married. Okay, so she got married very young, and she had children, and obviously she became very busy with her life. Later on, she had grandchildren, and she always felt happy in cooking and feeding everyone. Yes, sometimes she used to regret of not going to school, and that is why grandmother made sure that her own children and her grandchildren should study well. Now, when the grandmother was narrating the story of her own life, the narrator, that is Sudha Murthy, so she could not understand that why a lady of a 62 years old telling the life story of her to a girl so who is just 12 years old, and that too in the middle of the night. She could not understand it. But she knew one thing, that is, she loved her grandmother immensely, Okay, that is, she loved her grandmother extremely, and if her grandmother was saying something to her, so it means that there must be a reason behind it. The narrator looked at her face. It was an unhappy face, and her eyes were filled with tears. Grandmother was a good looking lady who was usually smiling. So she's always smiling and she was quite good looking. And the narrator says that even today I cannot forget that worried expression, that she could not forget that worried expression that she had seen when on the face of grandmother that night. Okay. So what the narrator did, she leaned forward and she held her hand, means she took her hand and she said, okay, very consoling, means she spoke out consoling words. She said, Abba, don't cry. Okay, now don't cry. What is the matter? Okay, kya hua? Can I help you in any way? Is there any way or anything, okay, that I can help you with? And the grandmother said that yes, I need your help. You know, when you were away, and the grandmother started to say that okay, that when you were away, Karmavira came as usual because it's a weekly magazine. So Karmavira came as usual. And as she opened the magazine, she saw the picture that accompanied the story Kashi Yatra, but she could not understand anything that was written. Many times she rubbed her hand over the pages, wishing that if she could understand anything about what was written. But she also knew that it is not possible. And she realized that if she had been educated enough, then she could have read it easily. But there was no other way. So what she did, she waited eagerly for the return of the narrator. The grandmother thought that the narrator would return within 2 3 days. Okay, that she would return and she would read the story to her. Once even she thought of going to the village and asking, means once grandmother had even thought of going to the next village, okay, to ask the narrator to read it to her. Okay, that if the narrator was not coming back, then she would go to the narrator and ask her to read the story. I could, and then she says that I could have also asked somebody in this village. Okay, but she felt very embarrassed, okay, to do so. And she said that day I felt very dependent. I felt very helpless. That we are quite rich of, that we are quite rich. But what is the use of this money when I cannot be independent? Okay, so if I'm not independent, then what is the use of this money? The narrator, after listening to such words, so she did not know what to answer. And her grandmother, her Avva, continued. What did she say? She said that I have decided that I want to learn the Kannada alphabet from tomorrow onwards. That I have decided to make myself educated and I will set on this venture from the next day itself. I will learn the Kannada alphabet. I will work hard, very hard, and She was so determined that she had kept the Saraswati Puja day, okay, during the Sera as the deadline by which she would learn the alphabets and make her capable of reading sentences. That day means the Saraswati Puja day during the Sera. So she had kept it as the deadline, and very confidently she said that I should be able to read a novel on my own. That I will work so hard, okay, that on that day I should be able to read a novel on my own. And she said that I want to become independent. The narrator says, I saw the determination on her face. Yet the narrator started to laugh at her. She said that Avva, you are 62 years of age. Means at your 62 years of age, you want to learn the alphabet. Your hair is means your hair has already become grey. Your hands have become wrinkled. You're wearing spectacle and you work in the kitchen so much. Okay, so will you be able to learn it? Okay, memorize the thing. And the narrator says that very childishly, okay, I made fun of the old lady. But the grandmother was so determined that she just smiled back. She did not say anything because she is determined and she wants to do something. So she has kept a deadline. Okay, so her hard work would prove that whether she is able to do it or not. For a good cause, if you are determined, you can overcome any obstacle. The grandmother just said that if for a good cause you are determined, then nothing can obstruct you. Okay, so you can overcome every obstacle. And she assured herself, the grandmother assured herself that I will work harder than anybody else, but I will do it. And for learning, obviously, there is no age bar. There is no age bar for learning. And so, from the very next day, they set out on their venture. The next day onwards, the narrator started her tuition. And she says that Avva was a wonderful student. The amount of hard work that she did was quite amazing. She would read, repeat, write, and recite. The narrator was her only teacher, and Avva was her first student. And the narrator says that little did I know during that time that one day I will myself become a teacher in computer science and I will be means I will be teaching hundreds of students. During that time, I did not know about it. Okay, so Avva was my first student. The Dashera festival came as usual, and the narrator, what she did, Sudhamurti, so she secretly bought Kashi Yatra, which by now was published as a novel. Her grandmother called her at the puja place and made her to sit down on a stool. As a gift, she gave the narrator a frock material. And then the grandmother did something very unusual. What she did, the grandmother bent down and touched the feet of her granddaughter. The granddaughter became surprised. Okay, so that's quite unexpected. So she was taken aback because we have never heard elders touching the feet of the youngsters. Okay, because as a youngsters we have already means we have always touched the feet of gods, elders, and teachers. Okay, but we have never seen elders touching the feet of youngster. Okay, so touching the feet of elders, god, teachers, it's a mark of respect. Okay, so it is a great tradition, but that day that tradition got reversed. Okay, and the narrator says that I think that it's not correct. Clear that an elderly person will be touching the feet of a young one. So according to me, it was not correct. But the grandmother said that I am touching the feet of a teacher and not my granddaughter. I am touching the feet of that teacher who taught me so nicely, so well, and with so much of affection that I can read any novel confidently in such a short period of time. Now I have become independent, and it is my duty to respect a teacher. It is not written in our scriptures that a teacher should be means it is not written in our scriptures that a teacher should be respected irrespective of gender and age. Okay, that teachers should be respected irrespective of gender and of age. What did the narrator do? So she did means in return she did namaskara by touching her feet. Means she also touched the feet of her grandmother and gave her gift. Okay, that is she purchased the Kashi Yatra, so which was published as a novel. So she had already purchased that as a gift. Okay, and she gave her gift to her first student. The grandmother opened it and immediately not only read the title, okay, but also the author's name and the publisher's name too. That is, so she immediately read the title Kashi Yatra, the author's name Triveni, and also the name of the publisher. And the teacher instantly came to know that her student has passed with flying colors. So here we end the story. It's a very sweet story, emotional story, a sentimental story, and very loving. So here we complete the story. So we will meet again with another story. The next story is, I think the next story is the pot maker. That yes, we will do the pot maker part by part in my upcoming videos. Till then, goodbye. And yes, if you think Jade Classes is helping you in any way, don't forget to subscribe it. Bye.